Welcome everybody to today's webinar regarding protecting your practice water mitigation with Alert Labs, sponsored by VISC, Veterinary Insurance Services Company, as well as the California Veterinary Medical Association. I am Janice Thomas, Executive Vice President of Veterinary Insurance Services Company. For those of you who do not know who Veterinary Insurance Services Company is, in 2007, the California Veterinary Medical Association, the CVMA, took a bold step to better serve its members by launching Veterinary Insurance Services Company, a wholly owned subsidiary offering a full range of commercial insurance solutions. The formation of VISC was driven by the need to provide the UCVMA members with tailored commercial insurance options that are not only competitive, but specifically designed to meet the unique needs of you and the veterinary community. We were created to fill a critical gap in the market, offering specialized coverage and services for veterinary practice owners such as you at rates that reflect the unique risks and challenges your industry faces. Collectively, we have more than 25 years of commercial insurance experience, and Team VISC is deeply committed to delivering exemplary customer service claims, support, and insurance solutions that are perfectly aligned with the needs of you. Again, I am Janice Thomas, Executive Vice President. With me today is Alexis Fan. She is our Northern California Sales Executive. Alexis, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Alexis, and I've been with VISC for 11 years, and I am the Northern California Sales Executive here.
Right, so any of you that are interested in a quote or have questions or are in the Northern California area, please get a hold of Alexis. And with us also today is Art Cruz, Vice President and Producer in Southern California and Arizona. Art, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Art Cruz. I'm a Southern California sales representative for VISC. I've been around for quite a long time with VISC since the onset of its going into business in 2007. Prior to that, I was working with the CVMA program since, hate to say it, the early 1980s. So I've been around. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Art. So before we get to Jordan with Alert Labs, a couple of housekeeping items. If you do have a question for Jordan regarding the equipment and any information that he's going over today, please put that in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Any questions that are insurance specific or for myself, Art, or Alexis, please put that in the chat. So I would like to welcome Jordan Edel from Alert Labs, who is here today to present some great information on water mitigation. So Jordan, I'm going to turn it over to you for introductions and content.
Thanks, Janice. And thanks everyone for having me today. I am just going to pull up the slide deck for everyone to follow along as we go. Okay. Okay. The slide deck showing okay, Janice?
There is.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, thank you everyone for having me today. I'm Jordan Edel with Alert Labs. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development. I work with all varying types of asset classes under the commercial real estate kind of realm, and we focus on water management and leak detection in commercial spaces. So we're going to talk to you a little bit today about damage that can occur in clinics and in facilities, and to better understand how you can go about avoiding that type of damage and obviously mitigating the risk that that is in place from having those events happen. So as you just mentioned, we provide non-intrusive water management solutions for clinics and help you avoid these types of damage. Obviously, there's varying concern around it. Maybe some of you have had leaks and things in the past. I know, Janice, you had a poll question we were gonna ask, so maybe it's a good time now to kind of throw that question out to the group.
Thank you, Jordan, for that reminder. Appreciate that.
No problem. So obviously, not many of us have likely had some experience with water at one point or another in buildings, but just kind of get an idea where everybody sits with having experienced it themselves. Okay. All right, I'll keep going. We'll close the poll question here in another few seconds. All right. So the main thing with understanding water damage in facilities is every day, obviously, aging infrastructure is taking place, and risks begin to get higher in facilities. Unfortunately, with buildings, there's always going to be that inherent risk of having a leak or a flood. And with medical equipment, there's obviously a very expensive equipment in facilities that we want to make sure is protected. But most importantly, some of these pieces of equipment and tools do require water, and so they do get worked daily and can create weakness and sometimes failure points within those appliances and then the tools. But we also deal with just the actual piping and things becoming older, and unfortunately they do break down and cause leaks and floods. And obviously there's the damage that takes place with no one wants to deal with, but it's the hardest piece to avoid is obviously the damage to reputation, and then obviously the downtime with operations, and that has a tremendous impact to the day-to-day of a facility. So we really want to try to give you some options and some measures that you can put in place to hopefully avoid these types of events from happening. So next, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Alert Labs, give you a little bit of background on who we are. So we design, build, and manufacture all the equipment we're going to talk about today. We have well over 12,000 buildings now, right across the Canadian and U.S. markets that we monitor for leaks and damage taking place. And so we have a whole lineup of product that we're going to talk a little bit about today, and these are some of the outcomes that have happened with the buildings that we've been monitoring for a number of years now. So why is water a problem with veterinary practices? So we have some statistics that are from the insurance group that has been able to provide us with some good details and some information on where some of the damages have taken place most frequently with the most recent claims over the last 3-year period. So with this, it comes down to obviously we talked about having the damage happening with water events, and we want to make sure that these can be where they can be avoided. We want to take those steps. But some of these areas where these deficiencies and these failures happen are regular bad, maybe it's a sink or a toilet with a leak, and sometimes it is those very specific lab areas like sterilization areas or the pharmacy, and then sometimes it's back to HVAC and mechanical, like we talk about cooling systems or pumps and HVAC. So there's lots of varying ways that water can start to cause damage, and these are some of the most common areas that do have failures in buildings. One other area that we do get asked a lot of questions about is fire suppression systems. Obviously, when temperatures do drop sometimes, especially with the way climate change has been impacting different areas of the country, those are sometimes areas that are unprotected, and then they can lead to freezing. So really just understanding where risks lie in your facilities is also very important, so you can try to maybe be on top of and take steps to be on top of these systems from possibly freezing or causing damage if they are starting to age. So when we talk about water exposure and the impact it can have on a practice, so these are some of the costs that were most recently covered during claims. And obviously when we're talking about x-ray machines or incubators, anesthesia systems, etc., like we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. And as other equipment, you get into CT machines and so forth and autoclaves, I mean, we're talking $50,000 plus $100,000 plus if they are exposed to water. And so this is really, really critical to make sure that these types of equipment are obviously protected and monitored. And that way, if and when, there is going to be a leak or some level of deficiency or breakdown in a facility, that there are measures in place to make sure that there's early detection, and then that there is warning or steps that you can take to stop the water flow from happening at the clinic as quickly as possible. And that hopefully will allow for these types of damages to either be completely mitigated or have the damage exposure to be much, much less. So these numbers are right from insurance, like mentioned, with the group here today. Then this was really caught our eye, was of all of the claims that were made over the last 3-year period from 2021 to 2024, water carried 41% of the claims. And of that 41%, 85% were not weather related. So that means it wasn't rain penetration through a roof or, possible flooding if we're near a coast. But this means that 85% of the claims were actually water from the domestic water systems inside the building's infrastructure that was causing the damage. And so the other 59% were everything else that was potentially claimed. So it's all listed off on the right side, but that's everything from fire to theft and vandalism, general liability, auto. It quite literally everything else that would have been claimed was the other 59%. And so this really kind of shows is the impact that water is having during the underwriting process with insurance. It's the risk side, but most importantly is the frequency that this is happening versus everything else is far greater. And so this is exactly what we're here to talk about today. And this damage that took place between 21 and 2024 carried a $6.2 million price tag. And so obviously that's incredibly impactful to operations. We've talked about the downtime operationally, but it's brand recognition within your clients and so forth, being able to retain those clients, obviously, because if they have animals that are unfortunately in need of care and a facility is closed because of an event with water, then obviously, and that animal does need care, they will start to look elsewhere, unfortunately. And this is why we're trying to provide some different options and tools today to mitigate this from happening. So time equals damage. Pretty really simple equation here, but it just kind of explains the impact. And so the faster that you're able to get to an event, obviously there's lots of downtime. Clinics maybe are not operating 24/7, but ones that are closing for after hours and maybe closed on weekends. It really provides a lot of exposure because there's no eyes on the property when some of these events can occur. And so a big part of this is being able to cut down the amount of time that it takes to be able to understand when an event is happening. And if that time can be cut down to minutes, the amount of damage that takes place is significantly less, which means that cost and downtime is almost all but eliminated. So Alert AQ, what can Alert Labs do to help this? So Alert AQ is our water management and leak detection platform. This is available to provide you with all the tools to have this information and monitoring at your property level in a digital format. So all of your clinics would be located in one place. And so what that means, if you have multiple locations, all the locations will be able to be monitored in one app or one login on a computer. And this is where alarms, alerts, and notifications would be able to be sent. And so the monitors and the types of monitoring we're going to talk about here in a minute, but most importantly is the system will be able to provide you with instantaneous alarms and alerts by the form of text messages, phone calls, emails, or push notifications to tell you that there's an event taking place at your property. So this can be physical water, this can be high temperature, low temperature, or if there is major spikes or concerns with running water taking place, the system can alert you to all of these different things happening so that you can be proactive with your response. So obviously, like we just talked about, automatic water leaks, leak alarms. So that comes through the phone calls and text messages, emails, or push notifications for the apps. And this can go to multiple users. This doesn't just go to one individual person. So anybody that is a stakeholder within the organization would be able to be notified, so that that time from the event taking place to your response can be cut down very, very quickly. One kind of anecdote is, we all talk about fire monitoring with fire alarms, and then we have monitoring companies that do that to be able to proactively call, whether it is the fire department or just notify the operator and owners that, okay, there's an event going on. But this is kind of the fire system for your water within the building's infrastructure. So another critical piece of the facility, but it allows you to really kind of take the keys to the car, to the vehicle, and be able to actually proactively manage it. Custom thresholds when it comes to leaks or unoccupied buildings, and this really allows you to set parameters around what type of operations are going on, how busy your facility is, and most importantly, the system allows you to monitor your water usage overall. So if there are major spikes or deviations from normal consumption, the system would be able to tell you about that, and most importantly, be very accurate and very in line with how your site operates. Historical tracking. So this gives you complete historical information, as well as a track record of exactly what's going on at your facility. So the system itself can monitor humidity levels. It can monitor your temperature in the facility in different points. We monitor for power. So if there ever is power loss events, if we have the ability to control the flow of water as well, turning it on and off. And so all of this is logged. So you're able to have those events fully tracked, and you're able to make sure that, most importantly, you're on top of things, mitigating damage from taking place and loss happening. We've talked a lot about obviously water so far, but with the temperature and humidity monitoring, obviously the safety of the pets and the animals that are being looked after in your care. If there is an HVAC failure in the middle of the night, you wouldn't know that the site is a lot warmer or maybe a lot colder than it is anticipated to be. So again, these types of systems make sure that the clinics are operating the way that you would intend them to, and if there is a risk or possible failure taking place, that you're going to know about it as quickly as possible to deal with. With those temperatures as well, one other area we do monitor is obviously the pharmacy side of things, with medicine that does need to maintain certain temperatures, or it would become spoilage or whatnot if a refrigerator did start to increase in temperature, if maybe the condenser failed, or if there was a power loss event and there's no longer power being supplied to it. Again, this is all different pieces of the puzzle that we'd be able to help support. Sensors and locations within the dashboard. So the nice thing is this doesn't take any maintenance. So within the system itself, everything is very organized. You know where the devices are located throughout your property, but most importantly is when those alarms and alerts do come out, you're told exactly where that sensor is in a specific location, so that there is no confusion. You know where the problem is, so that someone can get there as quickly as possible and deal with whatever that problem is. Most importantly with this is you don't need to be an expert in facility management, in IT with sensors and so forth. This is very, very simple, plug and play, and most importantly gives you that value of being able to know what's going on at your facility when. Alerts and reports. So obviously, as some organizations have multiple locations, you can run reports. You can see performance metrics, comparing different sites together. But also with this, you're able to make sure that you keep your operational spend with your water usage down. So you can see if a site is increasing in water usage or consumption, and if that's not correlating with the business and how many uh, animals and pets are being serviced throughout a time period, then that could be signs of possibly mechanical failure or early signs of just wear and tear on some of the appliances and fixtures, causing the site to use more water. And obviously, water is becoming more and more expensive, and obviously, operational expenses, trying to keep those down. This would give you visibility to exactly that. So obviously we talked a little bit about the dashboard and the highlights of the alarms and alerts. So now we're going to get into the hardware piece. Alert Labs designs, builds, and manufactures all of this hardware, both in the US as well as in Canada. And this is important because we have complete control over our system, and it is designed for commercial applications like yours. So there's lots of different types of leak detectors and temperature monitors and all of that is available, whether you talk about Amazon or Best Buy, etc. There's lots of smart home tech that is out there, but this is 100% set up and designed for commercial sites. And so to talk a little bit about how this system operates is it requires zero interaction with your existing infrastructure. So we're not touching your networking or your Wi-Fi or anything like that. This is standalone. So this the sensor relay, that's this white box up here, this device just plugs into a wall outlet, and this wirelessly communicates throughout the facility, but also has a SIM card inside of here, so it is cellular connected. And why that's important is during a major storm or power loss event, first off, we'll tell you that the site has lost power, but this system will continue to operate and monitor your facility with no power supply. If we were connected to your Wi-Fi or to some type of networking, this system would actually be knocked out. So there's a lithium-ion backup battery in this device, so it can be powered up to 24 hours with no power supply. And then being cellular connected, we're able to still communicate back and forth to you about what's going on at your property level. So if you needed to monitor your leak detectors, or if you wanted to be able to turn the water on or off at a facility during an emergency, you still have the capability to do that, even with no power being on at your site level. So we do have our flow monitoring device. One thing I'll take a step back here is all of these different solutions. This is not cookie cutter. No two sites are exactly the same. Risks in different properties are not the same. And so we really pride ourselves on having a flexible solution. So all of these are options. Nothing is mandatory except for the communication hub, which is that sensor relay. That's the heart of our system. But all the optional monitoring devices are completely your discretion on what type of mix, or if you wanted to go with all the different features, that is completely your discretion. But what it does is it gives you the ability to protect your site properly, and another site maybe approached a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, everyone has that autonomy to figure out what is best for their property. So the flow monitoring device, it's called the Flow EO. That works with your existing water metering infrastructure. So your city utility meter or your landlord meter that they have at the property. All this does is straps around the meter, and this provides you with the visibility to all of your water usage. So it independently reads it. It's not does not have to be plumbed in, but what it provides you is complete understanding of how much water is being used and when at the property. So if there is a continuous water consuming event, maybe someone left a tap on, the system would catch that. A running toilet, the system would catch that. Those are kind of those operational expenses that I was talking about with those increases, that would be able to be caught right away. But also if there's a deviation from normal. So what I mean by that is in the middle of the night when there's expected no water usage at the facility, say, but all of a sudden at 2 a.m. there's a big increase in consumption. The system would wake up and tell you about that right away. Whether or not it hits a leak detector, the system is now monitoring all water consumption coming into the facility. Next, we do have our leak detector, and we call it a floodie. So the flood sensors, these are physical leak detectors, and they can also connect with cables. So we do have this one wrapped around a hot water tank here in this picture. But what's important with this is this device allows you to physically monitor for water being in places that you do not want it. So this can be around your critical equipment. This can be underneath sinks, sterilization equipment, obviously all your mechanical rooms, whether it's a hot water tank or a cooler, chiller, etc. We can monitor all those different areas. And so when there is physical water, as soon as it comes in contact with this device, you'd be notified right away within a few seconds of the exact location where water is currently present that you do not want it. Next, very similar to the leak detector is our humidity sensor. It looks very similar. The difference is there's, you can see the venting on the back of the device here on the back side of it. And this device actually breathes and monitors temperature and humidity. So you can set your own customizable thresholds, both high and low for temp and humidity. And if those thresholds are ever exceeded, you'd be notified right away of those increases or decreases in temperature. And last but not least, we do have our automatic shutoff valve. And our automatic shutoff valves allow you to turn off the water remotely. And this device can work in two different ways. One, it can be automatic if it is paired up with those leak detectors. So you can program the system to say A, B, or C flood puck. You get contact with water, please shut off the water automatically at the entire facility. And it can do that. Or you have the ability to receive alarms and alerts, and from your phone or from a computer, as long as you have access to the property, you can press a button and turn off the water remotely, completely mitigating the damage and mitigating the risk at the facility. And so this is where we see a lot of retail, commercial locations, very similar to clinics that we've worked with, that this has had a tremendous impact on operations when events do happen, whether it's the middle of the night or on a weekend. You know that the site is monitored and fully protected, because that water would not just keep running for possibly hours or even days if it was over an entire weekend prior to someone going back to site. So it really gives you that tool to be able to make sure that the water and whatever situation you run into, that the property is appropriately protected. So when we talked a little bit about the network, this is really important just around the scalability and the reliability of the system. We want to make sure that the properties, of course, are protected. They're online all the time, and that is why we keep the system as cellular connected. But most importantly, is you can really put all of your system, your sites, if you have multiple, put them all together in one package, so that all of your monitoring, alarms and alerts come back to you all in one place. Okay, so here's a little bit of a breakdown and a layout that we can go over right now, just to kind of give everyone a bit of an idea of where sensors may go in a clinic. So in this situation, you can have your devices go in a lot of different places, but most importantly is you're kind of covering your critical areas. So mechanical rooms, exam rooms, we're talking about obviously the lab and pharmacy area, boarding and grooming, cat ward in this one, etc., break rooms. So these blue dots are the leak detectors. Now, of course, you may not need as many as what's displayed here, but it gives you a bit of an idea of how they can be spread out. The sensor relays, the communication unit, we would actually only require one of these communication units for an entire vet clinic. Sorry, was looking at bank branches earlier today. So as we're talking about the flow monitoring, that obviously would only have 1 meter for a facility like this, so that 1 meter would be monitored. And last but not least, we have the humidity and temp monitoring, and these can go typically where you have your lab equipment, where you're maybe monitoring some of your medical medicine and so forth that are in refrigerated areas, and then of course where maybe animals are staying and pets are staying overnight. Okay, so just give a bit of an idea of kind of a layout and a setup for this. So set up like this, and this is important to try to understand, cost and scalability and so forth. A layout like this would be roughly around a $3,000 investment. So we're not talking about, a crazy amount of money for a system like this. But most importantly is it can provide a big impact for you, and keep all these different points of a building monitored and protected. Okay. So a couple of success stories, a few different types of medical facilities that we've monitored and protected. This was an office complex, and condensation actually had dripped down and caused a lot of floor damage into would have potentially caused a lot of damage in this floor area, going multiple floors down. Thankfully, in this circumstance, they did have a leak detector in this area underneath where this condensation was pooling and forming, and they were able to be notified, and the situation was able to be resolved within a 10-minute period, and they were able to clean it up with a mop and bucket versus it running. This came in at 4:28 p.m. that day. But again, what's important is with the system, at the just happenstance that somebody may not have been in an area where this would have happened at 4:30, would have gone home for the end of the day, and then by the next morning there could have been a significant amount of damage. And in this situation, they had estimated about a $20,000 avoided event if this would have gone on for an additional 10 or 12 hours. This hospital project actually had to do with dialysis units. And so what happened in this building is the vacuum breakers on the dialysis units that connected to a water supply in this hospital, they were mounted inside of wall cavities. And what was happening is when the building was doing any type of maintenance or work on their water system, the pressure would obviously reduce in the piping because they were turning it off. And what was happening is the vacuum breakers were being stuck open. And when this would happen, when they would return the water back to normal operating pressure, the valves would spew water everywhere inside of these wall cavities. And unfortunately, this did occur multiple times to this hospital setting, and caused a lot of damage. Multi-million dollars in damage, went multiple floors because, again, it was out of sight, out of mind in between these wall cavities. So the solution to it was by placing leak detectors in these vacuum breaker units. And also with the feed line of the water line, they were also able to put an automatic shutoff valve there as well. And within first few months of the system being installed, they did have one of these vacuum breakers fail again, and the system was able to catch the leak and alarm to it, but most importantly, stop the water supply immediately. So the situation again was cleaned up with a mop and bucket, completely mitigated, and they would have estimated again that they would have avoided about $1 million in damage at this facility because of this leak being caught. So again, lots of different preventative ways to kind of go about avoiding damage and avoiding loss, but most importantly is just kind of having eyes and having that proactive mindset to leak detection. Thank you everyone for joining today. Obviously, if there are some questions, be happy to take them. And one piece that we're going to leave everyone with is we are offering a 30% discount to all VISC and CVVMA members, so everyone can take advantage of that, and that goes right across all of our products that we do offer.
Right on. Well, thank you, Jordan. I don't see any questions. Let me just double check. I don't see anything. I did have a question though. You mentioned the battery. How often does that need to be replaced? And do you know what the cost is for one of those batteries?
Yeah, great question. So the leak detectors, they run actually on two AA batteries, and they will last for 8 to 10 years on battery life, with our system. We do monitor battery life rate from 99% rate to 0, and you will get a low battery notification with 20% or less. Yeah, they're just regular AA batteries. So, yeah.
Get
Well,
that Energizer bunny working, right?
that's right. That's right.
And then as far as troubleshooting, like if someone was getting an error message or whatnot, do you have like a 24-hour helpline, or what does that look like for troubleshooting or assistance and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. So we have a full team of customer success and customer support members, and they look after all of our clientele. So there is lots of ways to reach out for support, whether that's email, phone call. We do have a 24/7 chat function that's available through the dashboard on the computer or your phone, which goes directly to our employees, or you have that ability to email in as well. So whatever that user feels most comfortable requesting support or help, it's always available.
Awesome. Perfect. Alexis, Art, anything to add?
Yeah, we have a question of the water leak detection system possibly reducing insurance rates. And while insurance carriers allow, for the most part, scheduled credits, meaning they give you discounts based on what you can tell them the improvements are and the kind of activities that you guys are doing to mitigate losses, we can pretty much be for certain that installing one of these systems is going to lead to additional discounts. The insurance world is kind of upside down right now with as a result of the fires, and insurance companies are starting to cry the blues about their losses and claims, etc. So you may have all experienced such, as far as like with your homeowners, with your auto, that kind of stuff's been rising rapidly, and we're trying to stay in the commercial world and keep rates affordable and such. And the best thing you can do is to help yourselves. And so something like this would really, there's twofold, not only to get you an insurance discount, which wouldn't be the big part of the picture, more than mitigating this type of loss. The other loss to consider when you have this type of thing is not only the damage that would be caused to your own facility by such a thing, but if you had a leasehold facility and it leaked to one of your neighbors and something like that, they're going to come back to the source and who created that. So it may make the loss that you have even worse. And so when you start having these big type of claims, water claims that are in the hundreds of thousands, then you become more difficult to renew as time moves on. So this whole thing is just trying to mitigate your claims as best as possible, mitigate your own losses and the business income side and your loss of business for a period of time. You never know when you close your practice for something like this, if it takes weeks to get your stuff back open. Guys go looking for other services and they may never come back if they find another veterinarian down the road. So just a couple things to think about along with this.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, there may not be a substantial discount on the carrier side, but mitigating your own losses can save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars at the end of the day. And especially with this, that alerts you immediately on the app. You can get there on the weekend, in the evening. You can add, and you said, Jordan, they could add multiple users. So if someone was in the local vicinity, they could be alerted and get down to the practice if maybe the owner lived, an hour away or whatnot. So you can add, how many users can you add, or is there a limit?
Yeah. No, there's no limit. So whoever needs access can have access to the system. Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alexis, anything to add?
I think this is a great tool to help be proactive with any water damage claims. I agree with Art, this is a great tool to use. And then Jordan mentioned that those attending the call will be getting a discount if they were to install it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said 30%, Jordan. Yeah, so
Correct.
as a CVMA member and or a VISC client, you would get that 30% discount. So if you're interested in this, actually we have another question. How do we set up for a site analysis and quote?
Absolutely. So I will pass my contact information to Janice and Alexis and Art, and they will make sure that everyone that's attended gets that information to you. But you'd reach directly out to our team, and we will set up a brief call with you to understand your site's needs and go over any questions you have, and go from there together to be able to put a quote together.
As far as those site analysis, Jordan, how does that work? Since you're in Canada, obviously you're
Yeah.
not taking a road trip out to California probably
I
or,
wish
or,
I
or
wish I
maybe
could
you
every
are.
time.
Yeah. So how does something like that work?
Yeah, no, good question. So typically we will talk a little bit about your site's layout, where the needs are, and in a lot of cases we can do that over a couple of Zoom calls. If there is a site map, like the one I just showed, it's kind of a layout. If there's something like that that is already built, that's perfect. Or just sometimes, like I said, just having a conversation where your mechanical room is, where your equipment is set up, etc. And just understanding what it is you want to achieve. And then from there, we can, again, put the quote together as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't see any other questions there, so I think we're good to go. But again, 30% discount off a $3,000 investment is pretty sweet. I mean, in the long run, it'll save you twice that if there's some kind of a claim or whatnot. And to Art's point, you know, the more claims and if you don't mitigate, there could be an issue on the carrier side. So, I mean, we all fully support this Alert Labs equipment and Jordan. So if you're interested, get a hold of this. You can go onto our website. All of our contact information is on there. You can reach out to myself, Art, Alexis. We'll go ahead and direct that information over to Jordan for that site analysis and a quote and get you all set up. But we really appreciate your time and being here today. We will be hosting this same webinar again on Thursday at 5:30. So if you have any colleagues that you feel like might be interested or find some value in this, absolutely have them go to our website to register. I think it's an important thing to talk about mitigation. Better be proactive than reactive, because if you're reactive, you're already underwater. Wink, wink, nod, nod. See what I did there? Yeah. So anyway, we really appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, reach out. Thank you again. Thank you to Jordan. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Sarah. She's kind of behind the scenes, and we appreciate your business, being a member, and we'll see you soon.